Types of nationalism. First, liberal nationalism is the oldest form of nationalism. Rousseau's views on popular sovereignty gave direction to the French Revolution. Liberalism stood for individual freedom, whereas nationalists believed nations to be sovereign entities with liberty and rights. Therefore, liberal nationalism opposed all forms of foreign domination and oppression. It also stood for self-government based on constitution. Therefore, the ultimate goal of liberal nationalists like J.S. Mill was the establishment of independent nation states based on nationality. Liberal nationalists like Mazzini stood for unification of Italy. Simon Bolivar led the Latin American independence movement. Woodrow Wilson's 14 points emphasized on self-determination. And leaders like Sukarno, Nehru or Sun Yat-sen stood against either autocratic empires or colonial rulers. Second, cultural nationalism is based on shared cultural identity. It emphasizes on the regeneration of the nation as a distinctive civilization, that is, its peculiar traditions, myths, songs, rituals, etc. Johann Herder is regarded as the architect of cultural nationalism, along with writers like Johann Fichte and Friedrich John. They spoke about the uniqueness and superiority of German culture. Thus, cultural nationalism stands for creating awareness and respect for one's national traditions during their quest for statehood. Cultural nationalism was seen among organizations like Black Panthers and Black Muslims. In recent times, the importance of the idea of Chineseness was seen, where emphasis was on traditional cultural practices. Similarly, cultural nationalism is seen in India, which is based on distinct Hindu civilization. The Catalonia, Quebec, Flanders aspirations are based on cultural nationalism. Third, expansionist nationalism is an aggressive, radical, and militarism form of nationalism. This form of nationalism came into existence in the late 19th century when the European powers wanted to establish in Africa. In the early 20th century, the world was divided into two camps, Triple Entente and Triple Alliance. The authoritarian or fascist regimes of Japan, Italy, Germany, Romania, Hungary followed the policies of expansion or recovery and domination through military means, leading to another war in 1939. Thus, military glory and conquest are goals of national greatness which generated feelings of nationalism. Expansionist nationalism advocates chauvinism and racialism. It believed in superiority of one's own nation and their right of self-determination. Some nations believed that they possessed qualities that make them superior to others. It was believed that white people of Europe and America were intellectually superior to the people of Asia and Africa. Therefore, they believed that they had the right to increase their borders and rule the world. Fourth, anti-colonial and post-colonial nationalism. The colonial rule created the desire for liberation among the people of Asia and Africa from imperialist powers. After the end of the World War II, the increasing nationalist presence and the difficulty of maintaining the colony forced the imperialist powers to grant independence. In some colonies, decolonization was peaceful, whereas in other colonies there was revolution or armed struggle. Leaders of the independence movement were Western educated and stood for liberal nationalism. As a result, anti-colonialism was expressed in the form of political and economic liberation in such countries. Some forms of anti-colonial nationalism adopted non-European models of national liberation. For example, in India, emphasis was on non-violence, self-sacrifice, and Swadeshi. Some anti-colonial leaders were influenced by socialism or Marxism. Socialism stood for community and cooperation, whereas Marxism believed that colonialism was an extended form of class oppression. Thus, overthrow of colonial rule not only meant political independence but also social, economic, and political emancipation. Countries like China, North Korea, Cuba, Vietnam nationalized different sectors like agriculture, industry, transport, and adopted a planned economy. Countries like India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan also adopted socialist principles. Due to changing world scene, nationalism is expressed in the form of religious fundamentalism. For example, Sikh fundamentalism for the establishment of an independent nation state, Khalistan. Buddhist nationalism in Sri Lanka and Burma. In case of Sri Lanka, the Tamil separatism was crushed and the Sinhalese identity was upheld. In case of Burma, attempts to drive out the Rohingya Muslims. Israel and Palestine is another example of nationalism based on religious fundamentalism. Cultural domination has led to the rise of Islamic fundamentalism.